Yes, I haven't uploaded in the past month. Yes, I've been extremely busy. That's about the only reason I've got. But I am trying to get back into it. And today I wanted to talk about the worst to best Batman Arkham games. Wanted to rank the games from worst to best. And honestly, guys, this is not an easy video to make because on any given day, the order of the list can switch. One day I can give one of these games the worst, and one of these days I could give the same game the best. It really just depends on how I feel, maybe something new I noticed within the game. However, I do have to make this list, and honestly, this is the list I believe I am quite firm on overall. So, without wasting your time, let's get to the worst. Now, I hate to do this, but starting off on the worst, we have Batman Arkham Asylum. Let's just be objectively honest with ourselves. Yes, we all love Batman Arkham Asylum. Yes, it was our nostalgia growing up. Yes, Batman Arkham Asylum was the original. However, we cannot deny it is the worst of the bunch. The combat is the worst. In my opinion, the story is definitely the worst out of all of them. Yes, they all have very good stories. Arkham Asylum, to me, is a very good story. I'm not going to sit here and act like Batman Arkham Asylum has a bad story, but in my opinion, it's just the weakest game of the bunch. There's no side missions to the game whatsoever. And I just generally, the combat, the stealth, everything that comes with this game, the smallest map, which for me isn't the most ideal. I like a little bit of a bigger map, like Batman Arkham Cities, for instance. However, I have to give this game the worst, simply due to the fact that there isn't really enough to this game for me to say it's the best, as well as it was the original. The fact that the first game was the worst means that the future titles only improved upon what Batman Arkham Asylum did. So Batman Arkham Asylum, in my opinion, it's a solid 7, 8 out of 10 game. Maybe even a 9 out of 10, depending on the day that I play it. However, it just doesn't have the best features overall in comparison to future titles. And that's what I'm comparing it to, future titles. If I was to sit here and say in 2009 about how good this game is, I would have nothing but good things to say about the game for the time that it was made, because it was a masterpiece for the time it was made. And the fact it's still a great game today shows how well it has aged. However, guys, I'm sorry, but I have to put this on fourth. Number 3 is extremely difficult, and as I record this entry, I honestly don't know. This is the flip of a coin. This is a toss-up for me, but if I'm gonna be 100% honest with myself, take any sort of bias out of it, number 3 for me has to be Batman Arkham Origins. Now, I wanted to put it at number 2 so badly, because between this and number 2, it is honestly such a coin toss to me. But in this instance, I do believe I have to go with Batman Arkham Origins. Now, the reason being isn't necessarily the story. I very much appreciate the story overall. The combat of the game is absolutely phenomenal, as per usual. However, there are things about this game that I think tend to rub a lot of people the wrong way that bumps it down to number 3, such as the Joker's, inclusion of the game. Considering the fact that the Joker should not have been in this game at all, this was Batman Arkham Origins after all. I understand that this came after Arkham City where Joker died, thus making it an option to bring Joker into the game. However, I think that people wanted a break from Joker. The first 2 games were surrounded by the Joker. The story was surrounded by him. People wanted a break. They wanted a fresh face and a new character to explore within Batman. So I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. As well as some of the gadgets in this game, like the concussion detonator, was pretty useless. The glue grenade was basically just the freeze grenade, but they couldn't just use the freeze grenade because Batman didn't have access to that gadget at the time. And, even the side missions in this game feel kind of weak in comparison to, even, say, Batman Arkham Knight and Batman Arkham City. The side missions feel a little bit weak, in my opinion, in comparison. However, the one thing that this game does have over the other ones is Cold Heart DLC, the greatest DLC of all time within, at least in my opinion, the greatest DLC in the Batman Arkham franchise. But outside of that, this game does not really hold up to City and Night in terms of just certain key little aspects, and the combat's just not quite as good. I'd find myself sometimes using the disruptor, and I would go to shoot it, but because it tinged off the corner of a box or a wall or something, it just didn't work. The disruptor just wouldn't work, but I'd lose the bullet, and it was extremely aggravating. Now, you could attribute that to it's new technology to Batman, so therefore it makes sense as to why it wouldn't be 100% perfect. However, I just have to say I don't care. Quite frankly, it's annoying, and that's where I stand on that. At number 2, we have Batman Arkham City. Now, Batman Arkham City, in my opinion, is a phenomenal game, released in 2011. The game's almost 13 years old, still holds up phenomenally. I don't have to repeat all the stuff that I've said within the past couple months about these games. However, what I am going to say about Batman Arkham City is, in my opinion, the reason why it didn't get number 1 is because simply the story is just not as good as we remember it being. However, the story is still very good. The side missions in this game are very good. And overall, I believe that Batman Arkham City did an extremely good job. And like I said, with Batman Arkham Asylum, it did a very good job for the time that it was made, right? Like, Batman Arkham Knight, came out 5 years after. Batman Arkham Origins came out 2 years after Batman Arkham City did. And there are things that Batman Arkham City did better in this game than any of them. For example, the map size. I believe that the map size in Batman Arkham City was done extremely well. One thing about this game that gets a lot of flack, but I also have to give a positive about, is the Riddler trophies. Yes, there's too many of them, but at least they're somewhat simple to do. You run into one, you can do one quickly, takes 15 seconds, and you go on with your day. Whereas in other games, sometimes it kind of takes a bit of time to, get these Riddler trophies, and it just feels like a waste of your time overall. So that is one thing about Batman Arkham City that I did actually kind of like. And overall, the side missions weren't bad, but some of them weren't great. Mad Hatter wasn't great. Deadshot was pretty good until the ending. The Mr. Freeze boss battle was pretty good. The Bane side mission, I didn't mind at all. These little extra pieces overall in the game that I thought added extremely good content, but at the same time were very mediocre. Now, I understand that could sound like an oxymoron. I appreciated the fact that Batman Arkham City introduced side missions. However, some of them to me were just not that great. Like the political prisoners. The political prisoners in this game were not done extremely well. However, that's just one little nitpick out of the amazing things Batman Arkham City did. The combat was such an improvement. The stealth was such an improvement. The story was such an improvement. And overall, there was so many good things I could say about Batman Arkham City that if I was to list all of them, this video would probably take me an hour to record. Now, you probably could guess what the number 1 spot is. Yes, it is Batman Arkham Knight. Batman Arkham Knight introduced so many new mechanics overall to this game, such as, much improved upon with the stealth, with the combat overall, so much improved. Introducing the Batmobile. Now, I don't want to talk about how much it was used, because yes, it was used too much. However, the Batmobile within itself was done very well, in my opinion, at least. The Batmobile, the combat overall just worked very well. It drove, in my opinion, very smoothly. The gliding in this game had significantly improved. The side missions in this game were done extremely well. The overall story, people seem to have a mixed opinion on it. I liked it. I understand where it could be a little bit annoying, because a lot of it is about getting Barbara Gordon, who's been kidnapped. I understand where people can get annoyed. The whole fear toxin thing, it kind of makes it obvious throughout the course of the story that Jason Todd is the Arkham Knight. I understand these things. However, that does not make the story bad necessarily. And that's just, like, my opinion. The game did so many things well. The Season of Infamy I was a huge fan of. Outside of the Mad Hatter one, that one was like a solid 4 out of 10 for me. I've never cared for the Mad Hatter stuff personally, but that's just my opinion. Some people really do like that stuff, and fair enough to you if you did, but the Mr. Freeze, the Killer Croc, the Ra's al Ghul, these, in my opinion, were very, very good. Very good DLC, Matter of Family. It was all done extremely well. In my opinion, Batman Arkham Knight just improved overall on so many things. Yes, some of the side missions were a bit meh. If you're talking about, like, Own the Roads was a bit meh. Or the APC one where you had to, like, chase around these tanks. Like, it was just, those were a little bit meh. I couldn't care. Even the Riddler ones, I couldn't care about. But there were some really cool ones. The Man-Bat one was done extremely well. The Two-Face Banks one was done very, very well. I can't give enough praise to that, because that's actually a really cool concept of a side mission. But overall, guys, I believe that Batman Arkham Knight is just, overall, just the best game. No matter how you look at it, especially when you look at the overall combat and stealth done within this game, I think it was done the best. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let me know who you guys thought, which game was the best, which game was the worst. What do you have in number 2, number 3? Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more content. Peace.